What's ruining most relationships nowadays? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. The Paradox of Choice. When you're faced with many options, you're less likely to commit to one. Paradoxically, having limited options forced one to commit to that one option. Our generation of dating focuses on optionality. But paradoxically, commitment to one option gives you the freedom to pour your energy, attention, and focus in making your relationship the best it can be. Story 2. Divorce attorney here, thankfully getting out of it at the end of this month. The number one thing that kills relationships today is the same that has killed them for generations: poor communication. Honestly, I think communication has gotten even worse. It used to be a lot of poor financial communication, but now it's life goals, things that should have come up during dating. You may think, oh, that happens, people change. But no, seriously, there are people getting married with no inkling that the other spouse doesn't want kids, wants to move back home in the next 10 years, and expects the other to just follow, wants to breed dogs while spouse is severely allergic to dogs. Honestly, it confuses me at times. Do people just screw without talking and then decide to get married? Story 3. Delusion that love means finding happiness with the one. It's not. There's always someone better out there. Relationships are like a boat being driven by two people. Just because you found someone better at driving you, don't leave your partner. Instead, enjoy the scenery around you. At the same time, don't expect your partner to be Michael Schumacher. Don't put too much load or it will sink. Make sure to fill the holes and repair the ship. There are nuances to it. Sometimes we are just unlucky and find someone who isn't fit to be in a team. That's just life. Good luck. Story 4. Everyone is fucking everyone. Everyone wants more, better, hotter, tighter, looser, thicker, longer. Easy casual sex is abundant. Relationships are becoming placeholders for the next best thing. Communication has gone the way of the telegraph. Spouses don't share information and dwell on the negative or unmet desires. People share more intimate information with strangers rather than the person they are coupled with. Marriage equals 56% divorce. It's much higher depending on the region. Southern California is likely closer to 70% divorce and 100% maximum animosity. Of the 35 or so married couples I know, likely 3 remain married only for religious purposes. Many are on their second or third. I know a woman on her 5th. Each one corresponds to cosmetic surgery or a change in friends. Those will end in divorce in under 4 years. Each divorce becomes just a part of doing business. Each subsequent marriage ends very quickly. Every marriage should have a contract specifying roles, needs, demands, contingencies, where the household finances are shared. An operational budget should be increased or decreased just like every other job. Marriage is a job. I enjoy my unattached, free to do who and whatever I want lifestyle. I'm honest about my needs. Story 5. Feminism and the whole LGBTQ movement. Brainwashing youth and young adults into thinking that's a normal lifestyle. Girls chopping off their beautiful hair to look like a boy and boys dressing like girls turns my stomach. For thousands of years, we seem to be doing just fine without it. Within the past decade or two, people have decided to go against nature, and it's going to lead to drastic consequences. Story 6. A lack of commitment. With the social media experience making dating for women super easy, they have many options. Hookup culture has ruined men too. Everything and everyone from friends and family encourage breakups and divorce instead of actually working it out. There's always someone better, and if it's not perfect, don't make an effort, just leave. Seems to be the motto here. Story 7. IMO people have unrealistic delusional standards, both men and women, have bad sources of advice and shitty idols. Younger generation's main form of communication is through texting, social media, doing things only for the sake of publicly displaying it on social media. This is going to trickle down and negatively influence people and how they view, communicate, prioritize different choices, etc. with other people, including potential partners. We look cute together because of our aesthetic rather than, does this relationship add value to my life? Basically, people are even more stupid now. Story 8. Something that irks me personally is always having to put on blast on social media your whole relationship. I know someone who does this. We get it, you're a couple. But you also told me he's been treating you like garbage. So why continue to publicly gush over him on socials? Is it to compensate and cope with how bad the relationship really is? Is it seeking validation in some way? Story 9. Constant comparison fueled by social media. People see these perfectly curated snapshots of others' lives and start feeling inadequate about their own relationships. It's like everyone is trying to keep up with an ideal that doesn't even exist. Instead of focusing on genuine connection and communication, we're too busy comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Story 10. The darn internet asterisk raises fist in the air asterisk. Seriously though, social media is like the root cause of most arguments, IMO. Whether it's looking at other people and comparing your partner to them, secretly keeping tabs on your exes, people you have interest or history with, or trying to keep up with all the fairy tale couples. It creates so much mistrust, doubt, FOMO, lust, expectations. Saw so many national GF stories yesterday, and it just had me wondering how many arguments that must have started. Story 11. People don't understand what codependence is and isn't. The term originally referred to the families of alcoholics. The alcoholic was dependent on alcohol, but the family were codependent on it because they had modified their behavior so much to accommodate the alcohol use. Remove the alcohol, alcoholic feels better, but family is still fucked up. If you change your life to support your partner, you are not necessarily codependent. You could just be really supportive. However, if you change your life to accommodate a problematic behavior of your partner, you are. Basically, when people start to really like, even love someone new, they immediately question if they're losing their identity, etc., and pull back. Romance is a little magical, and you have to nurture it when you find it if you want love in your life. When you really love someone, it should change you. That's the whole point. If you're worried you're becoming codependent, the question isn't the intensity of the emotion. It's whether you are accommodating some bullshit. On the other hand, seemingly small changes in your behavior made to accommodate someone's bullshit will add up and drive you insane. For example, Hallmark movie scenario. Busy city girl, unfulfilled by her material success, is home for the holidays and bumps into an old love interest. He's now the local Jimmy Stewart guy, incorporated in his community, and deriving satisfaction from non-materialist sources. They fall in love and she moves home and abandons her big city life. Is this codependent? Not necessarily. She was unhappy in the city and she's making a positive change because she loves this guy. He's a good character. And the accommodations change of moving home isn't to enable him. Contrast with The Devil Wears Prada. Anne Hathaway seems to be coming into her own as she copies her new boss Anna Wintour, furthering her career and material success. However, each incremental change, while seemingly small, is adding up to a dependence on Wintour's amoral ruthlessness. Finally, Hathaway can't even recognize herself because of all the changes she's made. This is codependence. Tilta de otter codependence isn't about the intensity of the emotion or the degree to which a relationship changes you. It's about whether those are positive changes you are choosing or just accommodations so your partner doesn't have to be better. Story 12. I say this while I'm on mine, but my O is currently in the shower, so it doesn't count. Mobile phones, more specifically bloody YouTube, TikTok, any kind of reels. My O spends about 3 hours a night watching videos on his phone. I can hear it in the bathroom right now. Barely any conversation anymore. I sit and read but can still engage in talking. But it's like the world switches off for him when he's engrossed. Don't even get me started on the bloody full volume, which means I have to put subtitles on the TV or I miss what is being said. He works from 6 every day, so I get he needs to wind down, but he won't do anything. And yes, his MH is fine for anyone asking. I think it's just me. Story 13. Communication and a refusal to acknowledge the end of the honeymoon phase. And then ultimately, complacency. Any relationship can be ended by something awful like cheating or abuse, but the vast majority will die because of those first three. The honeymoon phase ending is completely fine and normal, but it scares us because we start second-guessing and wondering if we really should be with this person now that all of the constant butterflies are gone and we're left with a very real three-dimensional person. And communication is something we're just bad at sometimes. I don't just mean we don't do it enough, we don't do it effectively. Talking will do little when we're not listening to each other and trying to meet in the middle rather than fighting and getting defensive. Finally, the efforts stop. I love you is just another phrase, but it means nothing if your actions don't convey it. When you do less to make your partner know they're loved, they stop feeling loved. This was how my last relationship ended, and it's the reason why I won't soon forget how to effectively be a better partner in future. Story 14. The modern culture of digital availability. The way that we are constantly available to each other all the time, constantly in communication, constantly on social media, communicating more, it breeds an inability to have any real time apart, and maybe absence does make the heart grow fonder. Maybe it doesn't. But I will say that this whole idea of someone not texting you back but still being active on Instagram as some kind of indication that they're ignoring you or avoiding you is kind of awful. We don't need to be available to each other all the time. I truly think communication does not need to be so rapid and constant. And while it is nice to get texts from your partner and talk with them all day, I really think it might contribute to a codependency on both them and technology. And I also think it can really contribute to a severe anxiety in the relationship. But IDK, also just being honest with yourself and honest about your feelings with your partner. A lot of people will read that and think it means telling your partner when anything at all makes you upset. Absolutely not. You need to be realistic with yourself also. You need to know when you're being reactive and upset, and when you're in a place to communicate calmly and discuss and feel your feelings. Don't negate them, but give your partner grace when it comes to understanding them and being told about them if something they did upset you. This, of course, does not apply to obtuse situations with abuse and violence, verbal abuse, emotional abuse / gaslighting / volatile fighting. Just get the fuck out of there, man. It's not worth it, and they won't change because of you. And even if they did, it won't change what happened. Story 15, selfishness. If both partners work to make things better for the other one every day and are thinking about others instead of themselves for the most part, they will continually develop respect for each other. This is how I think of marriage. I don't think people can do this without wholehearted commitment to one another. And you would want to be careful and choose a good person who is worthy in your eyes of this level of devotion. Not just give it to someone casually, especially not a bad person who does bad things. Which brings me to dating for self-gratification versus dating to marry. I feel that dating for self-gratification is inherently selfish, so this itself is a big part of the problem. Story 16. The idea that relationships are hard. The healthiest relationships are the ones that find it easy to communicate with and be there for their person. If you have to actually work at being there for them, then you don't want to be there for them and you should just break up. If you are uncomfortable communicating with them, then you have major relationship problems which most likely involve a lack of trust. Story 17. Approaching it from the opposite direction, I think most of my relationships have been successful when neither of us have a big group of close friends influencing us. When two people think entirely for themselves and can just be into each other without a bunch of friend and social media influence, it helps tremendously. When one party cares more about their bros or besties, Same with family. If one party lets their parents or siblings dictate their partner look-like. Story 18. For me, it's your life being dissected by scheduling. Every single day is broken down into pre-planned 30 and 60-minute blocks. It used to be that some people were that way, some people just took things as they came, but everything now is so hyper-efficient you miss out on so much if you're not that way. It's so hard to be spontaneous. Want to go out for dinner? Need reservations? Want to stop for a drink after? Tables are reserved? Want to go to the zoo? Need to book a time in advance? Movie? All the good seats are already taken before the day you thought of going. And with kids, it's even worse. Baseball fields are always reserved in 60-minute blocks. Everything requires a reservation, and it's always logistics to figure out if you can make it work, while you're always stressed about getting somewhere on time. It also makes having a social life with and without your partner harder because everyone else is also so scheduled. It used to be common to see a neighbor in bullshit or have your kids pay together because you're both home. But now, you're on your way to something. They're just back from something. Social isolation makes you even more reliant on your partner, adding additional stress. Story 19. There's a growing attitude in society that people deserve to have their cake and eat it too. This is bleeding into relationships and making people compare constantly. That combined with the overabundance of poor communication skills in younger people results in a very self-destructive mix that poses a major threat to most relationships. Story 20. Rising cost of living, wages not rising to compensate, and a bullshit housing market. It means that couples are more stressed, since money issues is one of the most common stressors in a relationship, have less time together, less money to have experiences outside the house together, get stuck in shitty rentals with often corporate landlords who raise rent without restrictions, and have little recourse. Overworking in a job market that treats you like replaceable cogs in a machine leads to burnout, which worsen mental health problems and lead to further stress. Story 21. The expectation that your partner should fulfill all of your needs. I blame Hollywood Disney for putting this idea of the one in our heads, who will make us eternally happy. This is also a quip at saying that someone's ettled for their partner. Like if they just held out a little longer, they may have found who they were really meant to be with. Part of the trouble is that people expect to find a relationship that will last for the rest of their life. The longer a relationship lasts, the more likely it is the people involved will change in different, perhaps incompatible, directions. Story 22. I don't think it's so much that relationships are being ruined as more people are feeling empowered to leave relationships that aren't great. I think a lot of people out there feel entitled to the continuance of a relationship after a certain stage, stop trying, then get all shocked and offended when their partner decides they want more out of life than whatever lazy coasting the current relationship has turned into. New relationship energy fades, sure, But romance doesn't have to and shouldn't. You still need to date your partner after you marry them and move in together. What mostly happens anymore is people move in together, decide that's it, and only spend default time together. Default time is a void that will consume your relationship. Story 23. Being controlling, like people think that stalking their BF's move 24/24 H will help their relationship. If he wants to cheat, he will no matter what. So no need to, works with GF2, still not healthy. People thinking that when you do not feel intense love, it's over. Like, no, you've just got used to the feeling maybe? People who made cheating normal. People getting on relationships just because they're alone and not BCS. They're in love. Thinking that having sex, hugs and all is a must when people have boundaries. Story 24. Assuming that your partner should provide everything you need in place of a community and support system. People who isolate themselves and don't maintain their friendships when they start a new relationship end up relying on their partner for all of their emotional, physical needs, and it's way too much pressure to put on just one person. It's also hurtful to your friends to act this way. I see so many people who say their partner is their only friend. That's not a good thing. One person can't do it all. Story 25. Delusional expectations of a prospective partner. Too many people, of either gender, expect a 10/10 looks wise who also cooks, pays, or at least contributes to all of the bills and is perfect in every way. Obese women who live off welfare are waiting for the guy in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes to fall madly in love with them and sweep them off their feet. Mentally unstable incels with temper issues are waiting for a Victoria's Secret model to find them in their parents' basement, blow them, and go cook them a wonderful meal afterwards. And the cultural message is, don't settle king-queen. Even when settling would, for them, be someone way better than themselves if they're a bit of a loser. Nobody wants to date down. That includes the person you're hoping to snag. Everyone would benefit from taking a clear-eyed look in the mirror and realistically assessing what they bring to the table. Then, either self-improving to get that perfect person they would like to have, or being realistic and accepting that if you're a 3/10 aggregate, not just looks, on your best day, you should accept that your partner might be a 4/10 and the 9/10 probably doesn't want you. Story 26. I feel that so many people nowadays get into committed relationships out of the desire for a relationship rather than the desire for that specific person. I find that people also find a person that they like the look of and romanticize it. And so they now want a relationship stemming from an entirely false image of someone that they've created in their mind. This and also lack of actual communication. Talking to someone every single day doesn't mean you're communicating with them. It doesn't mean you're knowing them properly. It just means you're performing the act of talking. In contrast to that, but kind of following on, the pressure and expectation to constantly message and talk throughout the day seems unhealthy. It could make you develop a lot of dependencies, and I also feel like it clouds people's minds a lot to the reality that we all have lives and energy levels. Not messaging back instantly doesn't necessarily mean you don't care about that person. Basically, it all goes back to people not communicating effectively, but thinking that they are communicating effectively solely on the basis of, oh, but we're messaging like all the time. Story 27. Confusing infatuation with love. Believing that love is supposed to be as media and social media portrays it to be, and if you don't have that, your love is dying. Not realizing love is a choice to wake up and pick that person despite the things that irritate you, despite what you believe are flaws. Choosing to love that person for who they are, not what you want them to be. Moving on to someone new because you think things aren't worth fixing. Failure to communicate properly with one another, a lack of vulnerability, a lack of self-discipline to continue to show someone what they're worth to you and why they're special. Cheating. Just be fucking single, dude. Building things together, working on growing your relationship, not just you and not just them. Story 28. Dare I say, phones, social media. I think we come home from work and spend more time scrolling than talking with our partner. Then, when we go to bed, it's common to scroll some more as opposed to talk and hang out and get ready for bed together. Being in a restaurant and playing a game on the phone. Being in the car together and the passenger is on their phone. Going on a walk together but listening to your own music podcast. I think phones are isolating us more than we realize. Story 29. Being that weird kind of conservative. They've gotten insufferable and weird. Unwell. I've cut out everyone like that from my life, and it's always been a massive improvement every time I do. Family, friends, I even quit a job that happily employed too many of them and let them disrupt people with talking about politics too much. Even led to a higher paying job, lol. Life literally gets better if you just say no to them. Story 30. Lack of communication, I think. I've heard from people who went into relationships too fast because their eager to have a significant other and saying, it's okay, I guess, when they actually see they're not as compatible. But then they wait too long and stick around. Eventually, it's going to get messy and end anyways, Imo. Also, with people thinking that everything comes naturally, a good relationship takes hard work. And the second they feel their love is fleeting a little, they give up and they're overall not willing to actually commit to this person. The honeymoon phase is over and then they instantly start to break away. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.